Oh, y'all caught me slipping. Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. I know this is February, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the new year because we ain't seen y'all since November. It's okay, though. I'm so excited to be here. This is Nicole D. Vick live here on Pyro Media Network. Did y'all see that intro? That's Pyro Media right there. Always making me look like I'm doing something that I know something. And I really love Power Media Network and their professionalism and just the wonderful things that they do for me. So really glad. But I'm also happy to have you all here. This is my favorite month of the year. This is the most wonderful time of the year to me, Black History Month. And I hope you had a great holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, but we're here now in 2022 and we about to jump into some real serious stuff because somebody playing in my face with Black History Month 2022. And we got to talk about this co-opting, what's the other word? Conspiracy, whatever. I don't even know the words no more, but I'm just irritated and we need to talk about it.
I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all.
Yes, all day, every day. Matter of fact, I got my Atro. I can't even talk, y'all. My Afrofuturism shirt on. So I'm even about blackness into the future, baby, because we're going to be here. We're going to stay here. We're going to push through. So I don't even want to talk long. I want to bring Nomsa on because we got some things to talk about. So come on, sis. First and foremost,
hey.
Let's just get this out the way. Okay. So everybody, as you're watching this, we were supposed to be live and direct from Hawaii, Honolulu, Hawaii. But what had happened was me and Kwame got our flight information messed up. We was a little behind in the line at TSA. We got held up because people had stuff they wasn't supposed to have. I'm gonna blame that on Kwame. That's not me, that's him. And so next thing we know, we see Nomsa in the airplane out the window waving goodbye to us. So she in Hawaii, and we are here on Crenshaw and Slauson. So maybe next time we can get it together, but at least one of us made it.
Yes, live and direct. We take it on the road. It's all good.
Next time, international. Maybe we'll be somewhere, across the globe. That'll be awesome.
Next time.
Yes. So how are you? How was your holiday? Even though we well past that, but how was your holiday?
Sister, woo. Our transition from it's like, wait a minute. So the transition from 2021 to 2022, some of it is a little bit of, is this a new year or are we still continuing from a couple years ago? But I have decided I am going to just move forward, reflect on what I want to do different, what I want to get out of the future and moving forward and not dwell on stuff I can't change.
I mean, I think that's the only way to do it. I ain't no other way. That's it. And now we're in the best month of the year. I mean, outside of our birthday months, right? I think February and Black History Month for me is really, I get so excited about it. And what does Black History Month mean to you? Do you do anything special? Just wondering.
I mean, for me, Black history is every day, right? It is 365 days a year. It is not just February. I think we might become blackity black in February, but we keep it black 365. But I think, I would say this month is a month to celebrate us, celebrate stories in our history that, doesn't get told in schools or that you see in movies or read in books. Lift up those pioneers that names may not get called, reminiscing family time. But I think it's really about celebrating us and our rich history and what we have accomplished and what we continue to do. So that's what I do. I didn't do it this year, but in the past, I have typically either highlighted a person or people or quotes. And I really haven't done that this year like I've done in the past. But that is something that I have done.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing Women Crush Wednesday on my Instagram and decided, wait, it's Black History Month. Let me pick, some Black women in my community. I started with my grandmother, kind of went, back, and then now I'm moving forward with folks that are in our neighborhood. So it was a combination of Women Crush Wednesday and Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Who are the people in your neighborhood? That's been my vision for this month. And so, you might see yourself, next Wednesday, you might, or somebody in the neighborhood that we know and love and respect. And so I think it is a time just to acknowledge and to celebrate all we have done, all we have accomplished and achieved. And it's amazing. Now, next question.
Yeah.
Because I've been seeing some things been going on, and I'm worried. Do you think Black History Month has become commercialized? I've seen how they've done Dia de los Muertos and how sacred that is. And now it's become like, to me, how I see it happening, Halloween Part 2. And it's like, but that's not what it is. Do you see that happening in our community, in our culture?
I mean, I guess, the question also is like, what hasn't been commercialized, right? It's like everything gets commercialized. And I think in some spaces, that's how some people may see their acknowledgement, right? Of, this is where I get to show that we do see Black people, right? And it, I don't know, you know what I mean? It's like, this is our part. We get to, it's a low hanging fruit. Let us do our part, right? So everything becomes commercialized at some point. But I think it's like, depending on who and what it is, you and I had a conversation, right? You texting about, what is it? Bed Bath,
Kwame,
whatever, right?
Bring that picture up.
And so you have them, and then you have like Target, right? That has, has moved there and been highlighting Black History Month with, I guess, designers or Black-owned businesses and products from Black-owned folks, whether it's clothes or other products. So, it's like, part of me is, yes, everything gets commercialized, but if it's a way or an opportunity to introduce us to designers, folks who, whether it's clothes or books or journals or whatever, by folks who look like us, it's like, I'm okay with that, right? Because it's like, I wanna support them, and maybe, or now I hadn't heard of them, but now I have. But like, if it's just like a design on some lotion and a candle, and that candle or that design wasn't created by some, what I'm saying? It's like that I'm just like, oh, I'm just gonna, it's just like putting lipstick on a pig kind of thing, right? But if that candle was done by a Black-owned candle maker, so then I feel a little differently about that. But if it's just, oh, let me get this kente cloth design and slap it on this lotion and candle and spray, I'm not feeling the same way about that.
Absolutely. And Kwame's been doing a good job. He's putting up some of the companies that we've kind of come across over the years that are doing some of these campaigns. And I think for me, I noticed that I have a different reaction to different companies and their sort of campaign or response. So for whatever reason, Bath and Body Works rubbed me the wrong way, even though it turns out I heard that the person that designed the design of the candle actually was a Black person, but they literally put that design on an existing product lines that people would buy anyway. Lane Bryant, I saw stuff, and at first I was like, what's that? But then I read it. Black woman designed it. Forever 21. People were up in arms. What's going on? This is appropriation. But it turns out Black folk had a part in designing that and actually are going to receive some of the profits. Matter of fact, this T-shirt is from last year's Forever 21 Black History Month campaign.
Okay.
And then I think Target, I feel like, has done maybe the best job of it. At least it seems that way, in regards to really highlighting. You can go on Target's website and click like Black, and then all the Black people stuff shows up. And so I don't know. It's just really interesting to see. I think the other argument is, hey, just buy directly from the Black folk, creators in our own communities, in our own neighborhoods. And I'm a big proponent of that with the pop-up shops I used to do. So,
Yep.
I guess it's like, and then here's the other side. What does the corporate structure of Target look like? Lane
Yes.
Bryant,
Agreed.
21, right? Are there
Agreed.
Black people? Yeah, you got Black people at the front in the cash register. Who's who's on the board? Who's in the executive offices? So I think it's like, yeah.
I mean, I think it's all of that, right? It's like you're looking at, and I remember reading something about Target when this stuff first came out, and they highlighted staff who were involved and part of the creation process, creative process, and all that. I mean, and all of this, I think we weigh all of that, right? And I think it's just interesting, right? Because then for me, it's not just this month, but it's like, how do they think about inclusion and others throughout the year in other spaces or just in other things? But I agree. It's like, I try to buy directly, but it's nice to see folks that I hadn't heard of. So there's some folks I'd never heard of before until seeing them at Target. So then I'm looking them up, and it's like, yeah. So
yeah. Hey. I think for us collectively, as a culture, we have to think about just what you said, weighing it out, right? And being open and okay with calling people out, organizations, corporations out when they're not doing things the way that we think they should be. I think that's perfectly fine. So yeah, okay, kudos to Target, but just again, what's going on the back end. Kudos to Forever 21. But wait a minute, who runs Forever 21? And there's a whole nother issue with Forever 21 and their practices with the fast fashion and all that other stuff. So I think some of that stuff is really important to balance, the representation with, what's really happening behind the scenes. So I guess we just keep our eyes and ears open. And stay on top of it. Kwame says, I think companies need to be careful, even if they are going about it the right way, because we have been used in so many campaigns for so many agendas, and we have trauma. That's it too, And the funny thing is, some of these companies, and like a Shein, I don't think they've done anything for Black History Month, but Shein and sometimes Forever 21, they steal people's designs. And sometimes those designs are done by Black people, and you look around in there and you'll see stuff on social media like, wait, that's my design that you've co-opted. So again, we got to kind of be really mindful of those things. Really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to touch on is Black History Month at work. I don't know. I think they acknowledged it where I work. I won't go into where I work, but I think they did acknowledge it in some way. But I'm also seeing people doing major missteps. And I think Bath and Body Works may have been one, but there may have been other examples. So I pulled up this article about 10 mistakes that folks make in attempting to celebrate Black History Month. And I want to hear from you if you've heard any of these or experienced any of these. Let's talk this through real quick. First one, throwing something together last minute.
I mean, yeah, that happens.
Assuming it's just
and last minute, right? Because that also just demonstrates that it's not thoughtful, right? It's an afterthought, and it's like, well, let's do this just so we have done something, and people can say we've done something.
And we all know what happened when you do something last minute is usually half-assed, wrong. You ain't asked the person that you need to be asking. So now it's like, what is this? Next thing you know, you got in the cafeteria cornbread and watermelon for lunch, and everybody's like, see, that ain't it. But last minute.
Yeah.
I think the next one here is assuming it's just for Black employees. And I think that's also a big mistake, that people think, oh, well, that's for them. And it's not an opportunity for people to learn and to share.
Yeah.
Not elevating the voices of those from the community. I think that's a big one.
Yep.
Another one is celebrating publicly, but not internally. And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about with these corporations. Like you're putting this outward, yeah, here's some stuff to buy, but what does it look like inside of your organization?
Yeah.
Does it reflect those values? And then the opposite, celebrating internally, maybe like, okay, we're going to do this thing. Let's pass around the cake, but then not saying anything publicly. I mean, that happens too. Let's
Yeah.
pass the
Yeah.
cake
Yeah.
around. Don't say
Yeah.
nothing, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not recognizing the complexity of the Black community, right? We're not all the same. We don't all have the same experiences. So, again, if you decide you want to do a thing, that might not resonate with everyone. And it's like, well,
Because not every Black person likes watermelon and fried chicken.
This is true. I love watermelon. I'm not gonna do no fried chicken though, So you think about that for me, right? We go to the cafeteria and they got greens with meat in it. I'm gonna be like, well, I guess I ain't eating nothing today. So that's true, right? Just celebrating well-known Black leaders, and I think that's a huge problem. It's Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and Oprah Winfrey, maybe. And that's it, And when there could be very well leaders within the organization, there could be leaders in the community. I remember one time having to remind people where I work, I'm like, excuse me, some of the health centers that are in our purview actually are named after Black people. And it's not just the Martin Luther King one. Like, Dr. Ruth Temple is a Black woman. Curtis Tucker is a Black man.
Yes.
So sometimes you got to remind people it's like not just MLK and Rosa Parks, that's it.
But that goes to like, what's acceptable kind of mainstream, right? And so it's like that, you have certain people that are lifted up. And I think it's an opportunity for others or in your space to lift up others, right? So like at your organization, you could be lifting up other pioneers in the field now and others or from the past that don't get recognized, right? Or, your local heroes. And so I think that's another thing to be aware of and to do, because I love looking at other people's posts and they're highlighting folks that I'm like, oh, how did I miss that one? Wow, I don't know that, right? So I also learn a lot from friends who post stuff. So, because Malcolm Harris posts stuff all the time, and a lot of it I am very familiar with, but sometimes he throws some gems in there, and I'm like, dang, I didn't know that one.
Right. Like, oh, and I think it also is a good way to remind yourself that there's probably history in your own family. I always talk about my family.
Yes.
And people don't know, and I'm trying to, and part of me telling those stories is because I want my daughter to know. And so she can tell the story. So yeah, absolutely. Another one is not involving Black-owned businesses. And I think that's a huge misstep, right? Because to me, those two go hand in hand. That oftentimes our business owners are leaders. It should be kind of recognized and lifted up. Or if you're planning something, if you run an organization, the caterer, why don't you hire the Black caterer that has the thing, or have them come in to do something? So sometimes we want to do something, but we don't really do things the way that we should. Like, no, hire that Black photographer, hire that Black caterer. And so we often leave those businesses out. Next one, last two, only celebrating Black History Month. So it goes back to what you said at the very beginning. This is like 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And then confining it to just that 1 month. Like, okay, we're done. Bye. No more Black people talk until next year. See ya. And then it's like, dang, but we still here though. Like, hello.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was about to say something and I just forgot what I was about to say.
I don't know.
Chad. Oh well.
I don't know. I'm trying to see. Let me go back.
No. I was gonna respond to something you said, but I lost my thought. So no. Oh. I remember now. I remember now. I think for me, when you were just talking about like caterers or photographers, or I don't want you to just be thinking about it in February. I want you to be thinking about those vendors all the time, right? Yeah, that was just something that came to mind. It was like, I want you to be thinking about those types of vendors all the time.
And I
Have some
also
diversity in who you hire and work with.
And I also don't want it to be have to be the responsibility of the Black people to be the ones to say, can you hire the Black caterer? Like that kind of, we need to normalize all of that. We need to normalize all of it and not have to force us to be the ones to teach you everything, to explain everything to you, to make sure that you remember you need to look for Black caterers or Black, event planners, whoever it is, because I don't even want to relegate it just to that. Right. There's so many of us that have so many other talents and levels of expertise. But I just feel like a lot of times we have to bear the burden of, hey, oh, why don't you call this person? Now, truth be told, because if you ask me, I'm going to tell you, and it's going to be a Black person, but I'm just saying, put them people in your address book too. So you got them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, so okay, so I guess it's been commercialized, but we just gotta watch and be vigilant and be ready to stand up and stand in for our culture if we feel like it's being misappropriated or whatever the word is, and whatnot. So okay, I think we're there. So it's time for our commercial break. It is already 6:30, and I'm like, what happened? We just started.
Has 30 minutes gone by already?
It's 24.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to take a break, and we're going to switch gears and talk about legacy, baby. Legacy, the future, Afrofuturism. Take us to the break, Kwame. Hey! Y'all always catch me.
I'm like, hey.
I'm like, well, I need him to do me like a whole, like a little playlist or something, because I was back here like just a day.
Hey. I love that. That was so good. That was good.
Yeah, I had a headache earlier. It's gone now. I'm over here dancing. So part 2, we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk about generational wealth, building a legacy. Now that is something that's really, really important to me, to you, for our community. And so I know you wanted to really focus on that. And so let's do it. Let's do it. What are your thoughts? Let's just jump off and get this going.
You know what? We just to give some folks some background, right? We're talking about topics and what are the things we want to cover. And something that keeps coming up or that you hear quite a bit or you're seeing is like the wealth gap, right? And some folks say it's shrinking or, there's all these different things. And it's like, well, what do we create and how do we create that, right? And is it too late? So, if you weren't born with that silver spoon and all of the money, how do you think about creating legacy going forward, right? Is it too late? Or what does that look like? And how do you do that in different ways, right? I know you have your properties and you're trying to demonstrate and model to Andrea owning and having something, right, that can be passed on. So there's things she doesn't have to worry about, right? And you think, and the stuff you're sharing with us about your family and properties and businesses and the work that they did creates and tells a legacy, right? My maternal family owns a funeral home that still exists right in Alabama, and there's a legacy that's tied to that. And as a mother, I'm thinking about, and as I get older, what do I leave my daughter? And like when I purchased my house thinking that, okay, this house goes to my Anna. Now she may not want to live in it later on, but it is something for her to have. If she sells it, I hope, buy another property or something, but at least it was something that we owned that could be passed on or could be the investment or the start of something else. And I just think, we have to have more conversations in our families about saving and investing and how to do that in smart ways, right? That and how to do that, right? And how do you even start to have those conversations? But that's just something, when we were thinking about Black History Month, I was like, well, let's, where's an opportunity to maybe plant some seeds and think about legacy and what legacy means in all kinds of different ways? Because some of it may not just be, it is money, of course, but there's property, there's other things that's part of that.
Absolutely. And so to give more context to what you're talking about when you talk about the wealth gap, I'm going to read you all a statement here. I found this. The Center for American Progress. So
yes,
that's where it comes from. It says in 2019, the median wealth of Black households in the United States was $24,100 compared with $100,000. Okay, so almost $200,000 for white households. It's a big difference between $24,000 and almost $200,000. That is a gap, and that's a hell of a gap. Therefore, the typical Black household has 12.7% of the wealth of the typical white household, and they own $165,000 less in wealth. Okay, the average gap is smaller, but it's still bad. So the first one was median wealth, and this one is average. The average Black household has $142,330 in 2019, compared with $949,000. That's almost $1 million for the average white household. So again, there is still a gap. However you look at the gap or the numbers, the gap is still there. What the hell? And I'm gonna say hell. I had wrote HE double hockey stick, but I'm just gonna say, what the hell is going on? Why is Black wealth so low? And I know what the answer, but why?
I mean, we know it's not designed. It's not designed for us to have wealth, right? And I think we also can't buy into. I'm trying to think of like how I want to say this. I mean, the structures are not designed. And I think those who have been able to make it need to be thinking about how do we mentor, teach others, right? And it doesn't mean they need to have exactly what you have, but I feel like, Black folks should have home, should have, home ownership. Or a process to move towards that at some point, right? I mean, a lot of it has to do with we all know where we work and all the where your income, where you live. Some of us can't even afford to live in community, or being pushed out of communities we want to stay in. So it's like, how do we reframe the, I guess, that I mentality, right? That exists. I may do this, I've made this my own, and really look at the collective, and how do we invest in us and in communities in a different way, so we can't be pushed out, right? So it's like we can help a family not lose their property. So how do we really, as a collective, support each other and support our families in a deeper way?
Absolutely. And I just saw a comment. We have to redefine what works for us. And I
Yes.
think, to your point, that because our society is not structured and built for our success, it was not intended for us to participate in, right?
Right.
That we are going to have to operate outside of that. And in some ways, we've already been doing that already for years. But now I think we really need to get, intentional about, again, to your point. Hey, the neighbor down the street is getting ready to lose her home. How can we help her? Hey, maybe 3 single moms, 4 single moms pool together and buy a house that the kids can have when, they go move on and pass away. So more creative economics for us may be the answer, because trying to play it the traditional way is not working. It works, like you said, for some of us,
but not all of us.
But not all of us, because it's like you can't save your way out of systemic oppression. You can't save your way out of a $15 an hour job at McDonald's. What are you saving for? There's nothing to save. So sometimes the traditional response is to, well, you should just save your money. What? How?
We need to have our own banks. We need to have our own banks. We need to have our own credit unions. We need to have we need to create those things. We need to have those groups that are that allow us to purchase and stay within our own neighborhoods. I mean, and it exists. We do have these things happening in our neighborhoods, right? But we also need to organize them deeper in meaningful ways, getting the information out, and really stand in the truth of taking care of us.
Yeah.
I really do believe the more that we improve the outcomes for Black people, health and housing and economics and all of that, I feel the more we are able to improve house and economic stability for us, will make things better for others.
And I've been so intrigued and really interested in trying to understand what shifted. So I'll give a little bit of my history. I don't want to go too deep in it, because that'd be a whole nother hour when we ain't got that much time. But so I think I've told you, I found my great grandfather's slave narrative. He was born in 1856. Slavery ended in 1863, and then the Juneteenth, blah blah blah. So he had 10 kids, one of which is my great grandmother. They moved from Tennessee to Oklahoma. So my great grandmother was one generation removed from slavery, right? And she was a makeup artist, a cosmetologist, came to Los Angeles, opened a business, married a real estate guy who was also a Black man, and they were able to acquire all this stuff. And I'm like, what changed? Because that was so soon after slavery ended that they were able to do that. And now things, I feel like, are so much more worse off for us. And I guess it's really interesting, because I would think it would have been harder for her and for my great grandfather back then to do what they did. It's weird. I don't understand it. I'm like, I don't know who to ask. Historians, I don't get it, because like they did what they did, but I feel like now it's harder for us, even harder.
I mean, we look at the policies that are in places for lending or to open a new business, right? And you have all of those things that come into place, because it's like you said, you have grandparents that had businesses. I come from a family that had businesses, or have family members who have lawyers. lawyers, they've been politicians, doctors, right? So we know that we have been able to do that, but it's also was hard for them too, right?
Yeah.
It was also very hard for them even in that, and thinking about where they were able to have their business,
Yeah.
right? And who they could cater to. So even if in that, there were limits, right? And so I think we just have to figure, it's like, how do we, I mean, some of it, I feel like we just got to blow it all up and start from scratch,
I'm
right?
with you
Because,
on that.
I don't believe in reform, because reform just is putting a Band-Aid on something. It's not really dealing with the issue. Um, and so I think we just have to, it's like, how do we, I don't know, part of me feels like we as a people, as soon, if we change our mindsets as a collective,
Yes.
we could really do some other things. And not to say that we aren't, but I also think it's broken off. It depends on where you are. And I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm just
I
bad.
agree. No, I hear you. And then I think the other part of what you said, though, that makes me realize, okay, well, that's why they were probably able to do things in my mind, as I perceive it, a little easier, is because they were still segregated, right? Even in Los Angeles, all those restrictive covenants were still in place. And all of us were in South Central LA, all of us, the 22nd and Central Avenue, that's where their my great grandma's beauty salon was. The gas station that my grandparents owned, was all that stuff was on Central Avenue. Black folk couldn't even live in Compton. They couldn't even live in Watts. So we were all here, and that's all we had was each other. And I know
You're
I've
either
heard
here or you're in
argument.
Oakland. You
Yeah,
either there or Oakland.
and that's it. And so I think, I've heard this argument before that actually desegregation in some ways could have actually been harmful for us, because then we started going around and we kind of dispersed a little bit. But when we were like all right there, that was it. So you was gonna have customers in your beauty salon because everybody in the neighborhood was coming to you. My great grandfather, as a real estate agent, was able to get people homes. Now, he actually was responsible in some ways of getting Black people to View Park and some of these other communities, which was great. But maybe that was part of the like, we should have stayed where we were. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, it's like I have no magical answer. I think I'm, still like learning and looking at this stuff deeply. And it's like, follow the money, right? It's like follow the law, follow the money, follow the laws, and how things change and the impact of those things when they change. And, it's like wanting to keep us in certain areas, and then not invest in those areas. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I saw a comment from Dina, like, where do we start? Rochelle was like, yeah, I wonder too. Like, how it just, the impression is like things were hard back then, but at the same time, not. It's weird. I really need to find a historian somewhere that somebody explain.
I think also it's like the way some of it is like folks, we get spread out, we move to other areas thinking, we are doing better or moving up, right, somewhere else. So we also get disconnected. And so then you're like by yourself in certain areas. But I also think over time, we may have lost that connection of supporting each other, right? Like we all grew up here, it takes a village. And I think sometimes it's like, that ain't my business. If it ain't in my backyard, I ain't gonna mess with it. And so I think we've lost some of those connections in supporting each other as we move up, right? And reaching back to bring somebody else with us, right? Because we don't have to manifest the crabs in a barrel thing, right? We don't have to manifest that. And I know you personally do a lot in terms of introducing others to other business people and connecting that. And I know others have done that for you. And I think we just have to continue to do that in a more intentional way.
Absolutely. I mean, it's something I feel like that's ingrained in my head. I don't know, maybe it's inherited, genetic. I don't know. But I really feel strongly about that. I mean, if someone comes to me and says, I need a thing, I'm going to try to help them out, get to that thing, give them some insight. I mean, I don't know if I told you, I had a student, we met for the first time in person last night. And at the end of the class, young black man, freshman, he said, "Hey, my bad, I didn't do my assignment. Can I turn it in?" I said, "Yeah, go on, turn it in." And then he said, "I just want to let you know I'm from up like Portland, whatever, up that way." He said, "Not around a lot of black people." He said, "You're my first black teacher." And I actually literally could hear him kind of voice kind of crack. And so then I'm like, "Whoa, hold on, wait a minute now." So, I want to hug him, but I was like, boundaries. But I shook his hand and I said, "Look, listen." I said, "Whatever you need, I don't care. After this class, 2 years from now, you do not hesitate." Because I feel like just by him telling me that, that's my nephew right now. Right. And whatever we can do to make sure he graduates, because he gotta graduate. He gotta get through this place
Yeah.
that's not built for
Yeah.
him, not designed for him. We got to get him through here in one piece. And so I'm even thinking like, let me reach out to him and see if he needs mentors. I got, Brett and all these other people, black men that I know, like, let's help this man get through this so he can be a beacon in his community when he goes back. So I
Right.
don't know. It's something that's
Right.
part of me. And I want that to be ingrained in other black folk as well. Like we got to look out for each other because guess what? Nobody else gives a damn.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I remember growing up and being at my aunt's house and everybody, other people just looked out for each other, and it wasn't just around when somebody passed away. People
Right.
really supported each other. If they knew somebody was having a hard time, they buy some groceries, they make sure the kids got whatever. And I just, I think we've lost in some situations, not in all. In some places, we've lost that, and I think we gotta work harder on and getting back to that.
Absolutely. And I think that's a perfect segue into kind of closing up on this, thinking about how we can do our own part. And one of the things I talk a lot about is we don't have to wait for permission. We don't have to wait till we have a lot of money or degrees to do that, to be that light, to be that person to make a difference. There are many opportunities in every minute of every day to do something different, to do something better, to be an encouragement to someone else, to share a tidbit of information. We don't have to feel like, I think that you're right, that old school way of, well, I got it how I got it, you figure it out. We got to let
Yeah.
go of that and be like, look, I'm gonna tell you what you need to know, what you want to know, and just open up and be really open to sharing that information. And so
we can't be blocking our blessings. You know what I'm saying? You can't be blocking future blessings by not helping the next, right? And you can't see everything as a competition. And I think if you see, I got mine, so now you got to figure out, or if I share with you my secret sauce, then I'm going to be losing out. Well, actually, you can gain so much more in sharing your secret sauce, but your secret sauce is still yours, right? But it doesn't mean that you can't pull up somebody else while you going up.
Right. So we got to have that abundance mindset. Stop thinking like the other people think about this scarcity thing. Well, if you take from me, because that's how they think. And I'm gonna say it like that. I'm not gonna go into detail that if I give you some of this, I'm losing out. No, how about we all actually just end up winning? How about that? How about that?
Yes.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
And so, no, I think that was a perfect ending to this episode. Yes, Rochelle said that is such a toxic way of thinking. There is more than enough to go around. Absolutely. Collaboration over competition. I like that. T-shirt. I need that.
I know. I was like, that needs to be a shirt. I like that. And I would wear it. I like that.
Or a pen, like boom.
Something. Yeah, I would wear that. Absolutely. So yeah, it's not just Black History Month. It is Black History every day, every day.
Absolutely. And we just got to look out for each other. So this was a great conversation.
Yeah.
I'm excited for next month. I forgot what we talking about next month, but it's going to be good.
I don't remember either.
And we know what we're doing. So it's going to be just fine. And next time we'll be in Hawaii. We'll make our flight. We'll be there on location next time. But thank you, everyone that is watching. Don't forget, Sister Girl got 2 books now. I got 2 whole books. pushing through, finding the light in every lesson, and push through 52 weeks of light in tough times. Now, that journal, let me tell you something about that journal. I started writing in that journal and going, recording my thoughts. And I was like, did I write this journal for y'all or did I write this journal for me? Because I was like, I'm having epiphanies and like, wait a minute, what's going on with this journal? So they're available on Amazon, Walmart, BarnesandNoble.com, all these fabulous websites. Just Google it. You'll see it on my website, www.NicoleDVick.com. Got all kind of information there, TED Talks, all stuff that I've done. And check me and Nomsa out every second. It's the second Thursday.
You can't be asking that. Wait a minute. You can't be asking that on the spot. Yes. Second Thursday. Yes.
Me and Nomsa out on the second Thursday of every month, live here on Facebook. At 6 p.m. local time. And then on the other Thursdays at 6 p.m., me and sister girl Andrea pushing through. We be doing the most. Love that girl. If you are a mom of an adult child, your responsibility to nurture that relationship does not end when they turn 18. So if you need help figuring out how to do that, and I'm not saying we the experts, I'm just saying, but if you want to get some inspiration, watch us at 6:00 on Thursdays because we be doing stuff eating, because we all, we like to eat and all kinds of other good things. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you, Pyro Media Network, for always, hooking us up, making me look all fancy and fresh. And Nomsa too. He was like, ooh. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.